It's Thursday, July 26th. Not many people get a chance to speak before the City Council of New York City, let alone people who haven't even graduated elementary school. But that achievement was realized by 10-year-old Cameron Slade yesterday. 2 months ago, he wrote a speech for a school competition about his support for gay marriage. Because Cameron's speech was deemed inappropriate by the principal of PS 195 in Queens, he was not at first allowed to give it. Once a local media outlet learned of the story, Cameron was able to give the speech in front of the cameras of New York One. It became an internet hit with more than 600,000 views on YouTube, and Cameron quickly became a symbol of acceptance and tolerance. On Wednesday, thanks to an invitation from Speaker Christine Quinn, Cameron stepped up to the microphone at a New York City Council meeting.
Like President Obama, I believe that all people should have the right to marry whoever they want. Marriage is about love, support, and commitment. So who are we to judge?
After his moment on the council floor, Cameron said, quote, "I felt very confident when I was up there. I feel honored because not many people get to do this." The young man now has a number of fans on Twitter, with one person writing, "Go little dude," and another tweeting, "Stories like this give me some hope for this world." Not too bad for a fifth grader. What do you think of Cameron's speech? Let us know on our Facebook.
Hello everyone, welcome to GGN. Hopefully you remember the last couple broadcasts where I discussed these issues of social engineering and that. And if you remember, there was one video, one author in particular, who was talking about basically the engineering of culture by Zionists. Basically he was saying that they like to, because there's not that many of them, they have to use large groups because they're revolutionaries. That's the way he put it. They have to use other people to gain political control, and he calls this political manipulation through the exploitation of their passion. So before it was the civil rights, and they used the black people for that, and now they are using the homosexuals, and they're preaching tolerance and diversity. So you're going to see in this video about diversity and tolerance. And by the end of the video, or by the next video in part 2, you're going to see how it's slowly taking down America through tearing the fabric of its society apart. So just the quick disclaimer is, I'm not saying that all homosexuals should be rounded up or anything, and I'm not saying I'm a racist against any other person besides white people. Simply stating an argument, a concept that's used to control people by certain groups. Amazon founder donates $2.5 million to support gay marriage in Washington. Apparently they are, him and his wife are now the largest donors to gay marriage in the country, the New York Times reported. It was legalized in Washington state in February. Opponents immediately started a campaign to recall the laws in a referendum. It's legal in 6 states, but has failed every single time it has been put up to a popular vote. So far, the pro-gay marriage camp is outraising its opponents in Washington, in part thanks to the help from Silicon Valley. It says here, Microsoft's Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer each gave $100,000 to same-sex marriage supporters, the Times said. And even though a government survey finds widespread disapproval, Scotland's going to go ahead and legalize gay marriage. The first gay marriages in Scotland are expected to take place in 2015 under new legislation being pushed by the government. It says here, we are committed to a Scotland that is fair and equal, and that is why we intend to proceed with plans to allow same-sex marriage and religious ceremonies for civil partnerships, the deputy minister said. It says here, this is coming despite strong opposition from the Catholic Church and the Church of Scotland, despite 2/3 of nearly 80,000 respondents frowning on the idea when leaders sought public opinion. Next up, New York gay marriage brings New York City $259 million, while lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual rights make good economics. So legalizing gay marriage in New York City is more than a victory for civil rights. It's also a big moneymaker, they say. So in a recent statement from Mayor Bloomberg, the city received $259 million from an increased number of gay marriages in the past year, which is equated to $16 million in revenue for the city. It's just further proof that legalizing gay marriage across the country makes sense ethically and economically. Links will be posted in YouTube's video description. My YouTube channel is ddarko2012, and my backup is ddarko2013. David Cameron says gay marriage will be legal in Britain by 2015. So on the eve of Mitt Romney's visit to London, David Cameron chose to reaffirm his support of gay marriage, said he believed it would be legal within 3 years. A bold announcement. Not all members of Cameron's party nor the Church of England met it with approval. The globalist is absolutely determined that the coalition, or this coalition, will follow in that tradition by legislating the bill. And then to the underlying or surrounding issue right now, which is poor Chick-fil-A. And I say poor Chick-fil-A because they're learning the lessons that these people that preach tolerance and all that don't like freedom of speech too much. They could just go about their way and not purchase their product anymore, their chicken, stuff like that, but instead they're going to go on basically a tirade. Remember, revolution. So we have this: Boston mayor sends letter to Chick-fil-A, there's no place for you here. So the mayor says, your company says you're backing out of the same-sex marriage debate. I urge you to back out of your plans to locate in Boston. This is after Kathy of Chick-fil-A basically said what? He opposes same-sex marriage, and said the generation that supports it has an arrogant attitude. So he says, you called supporters of gay marriage prideful. Here in Boston, to borrow your own words, we're guilty as charged, full of pride for our support of same-sex marriage and our work to expand freedom to all people. So it says here, we are proud that our state and city have led the way for the country on equal marriage rights. There is no place for discrimination on Boston's Freedom Trail, and no place for your company alongside of it. That's right, folks. There's no place for Chick-fil-A. There's no place for freedom to disagree on the Freedom Trail. Then moving on to Chicago, a politician there moves to block Chick-fil-A from opening. Joe Moreno calls anti-gay marriage views as being bigoted. So just some quick lingo here. When I say anti-gay, they're not saying like this guy said. He goes, we're not calling for hurting these people or doing anything. They're just saying that that's not a marriage. That's not my words, that's his. Then we have protesters spoil Chick-fil-A opening. Meanwhile, Chicago franchise owner urges Rahm to eat there. So fast food lovers had camped out all night the grand opening of Chick-fil-A in California, but their plans were foiled this morning as gay rights protesters descended on the restaurant, and company management made everyone disperse, says NBC San Diego. So this is in California. Rahm Emanuel had supported in his effort to block a new Chick-fil-A location. Went on the phone with him, or trying to talk with him. The lone Chick-fil-A franchise owner said, I sell chicken, there's nothing discriminatory in anything we do. Woman sues Chick-fil-A for gender bias. Meanwhile, Kansas student want outlets out of their campus. It says here, she's facing gender discrimination from a woman who says that she was fired so that she could be a stay-at-home mother. So yeah, it's pretty interesting because she had worked for the company since 1991. She says management replaced her with a male employee, and that is when the, quote, pattern of discrimination against female employees happened. So remember when I first reported on this all started from the Muppets, which was owned by Disney, who had that new CEO who's getting things done. Remember that picture of him? He was pictured next to Jason Alexander, the same guy who's calling for the same thing that Obama was calling for days before he called for it, which was a ban on assault weapons. But I remember reading those comments, and the majority of them were very surprising to me because it made me think like things are getting better. Like someone can come out and say this, a representative, and they can still, they're not getting lashed out in the comment board, which is a lot of times I find in the comment board, because people with internet, they tend to have they tend to be more liberal. I don't know what it is. Maybe conservatives with money. I don't know what it is, but they tend not to be online as much. But I was surprised because a lot of people were supporting them. Even people that were atheists and had opposing views, they still said, well, they have their freedom to say things. Now all of a sudden this is blowing up into something gargantuan, and I'm thinking it's because people actually didn't lash out. So now they have to come from, this is coming from the top down. That's what I'm saying. It's coming from the top down, and they're using useful idiots at the bottom. So Chick-fil-A PR honcho dies of a heart attack. So this is what you get. The poor bastard died of a freaking heart attack, right? So he worked there for 29 years. And the two comments were, oh well, and why is this news? Because they were anti-gay? But it's just like the race thing that's going on in California with the police and the riots, and Zimmerman, which he'll probably end up walking. This is all for what? This is to set the stage for when, you know, people don't have any money and start rioting. They'll just get everybody fired up and going. And DHS is getting ready for it. Marilyn Monroe seduced women, says new books. That's right. So was Marilyn Monroe a lesbian? And it says here that she admitted to having sexual encounters with Joan Crawford, Barbara Stanwyck, Marlene Dietrich, and Elizabeth Taylor. So a lot of what? Programming icons in the media. Lady Gaga, another big programming. I would be surprised if they come out and says that she's not born a complete woman, right? She was born this way. Lady Gaga shares Lindsay Lohan sleepover pics. So that's not interesting, you know, all that interesting. But another programming icon, Lindsay Lohan and Samantha Ronson's romance is back. And this was May of this year. So you can see where I'm going with this. Flexasexual girl who kiss girls but like boys. So I guess you can figure that out. Florida Lieutenant Governor apologized for remarks about lesbians. She apologized Thursday for offending lesbians when she said black women who engage in those relationships don't like her. It was wrong and inexcusable to make a comment that hurts people, and that was not my intention. She wrote in a letter to the Equality Florida, a group that seeks equal rights for gays and lesbians. As a Christian, my faith guides me to love and respect all people. The false charges that have been lodged against me are no excuse for what I've said. Then, most of you have heard this, banned Greek triple jumper, bitter and upset after a racist tweet gets her kicked out of the Olympics. She says she hasn't slept at all, and to be honest, she's still trying to come to terms with what happened. I'm thankful for a coach and so many people who have stuck by me after so many years of hurt and sacrifices to try to get to my first Olympics. I am very bitter and upset, but what has upset me the most is the excessive reaction and speed of the disciplinary decision, of course, because it's coming from those that are pushing this social agenda. Birth rate plunges and projected to reach lowest level in decades. So 20-somethings who postpone having babies because of the poor economy are still hesitant to jump into parenthood, an unexpected consequence that has dropped the USA's birth rate to its lowest in 25 years. This is warfare, you know, so they use the economy to do this, like in the 50s and all that. We had a strong economy, strong middle class, strong morals and ethics. We had a lot of power, and for some reason we don't have a lot of power, we don't have a lot of money, and we don't have a lot of ethics, right? So we have here, U.S. economic growth slows down to all-year low. So no, it's not looking good. And it's not looking good for Japanese women. Japanese women lose world's longevity title to Hong Kong, and Japan's government blames the 2011 probably a HARP-type earthquake and tsunami that was brought to them by who? The Rothschilds family, most likely, and outside interests for not basically bowing down completely to the globalist banking system. But you can be rest assured that it's not going to just be the women; it's going to be the children and their future and their future. It's DNA. So that's how these people work. Future generations. Are they insane? Fukushima Beach now open to radiate more Japanese. So there you go, right? That's going to help their life expectancy as well. Pro-life opposition to Melinda Gates population summit is not fading. So pro-life protesters at the Family Planning Summit in London last week signaled that opposition to the multi-billion-dollar campaign is not going away. It's held on the 100th anniversary of the first eugenics conference in London. The UK's Department for International Development, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, harnessed the seats of power to launch this latest effort to blame children for poverty and women's troubles. Parents could be asked to administer flu vaccines to their children. So not just hiring an extra 1,000 basically nurses at the re-education camps, options are being considered to administer it, including allowing parents to vaccinate their own children. Then we have a shingles jab. Everyone in their 70s could get it, and that's because the elderly are the main ones that are affected, right? Because they care about the elderly in the UK. Their hospitals could be using the death care pathway to hasten deaths of elderly to save money. A population boom in the UK caused by high birth rate and mostly immigration will force re-education camps to create 1 million more spots by 2020. Thank you.